It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of Bank Information. Take charge of your financial future with Your Personal Bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
All right, welcome to Your Personal Bank Show. And those of you that tuned in, this is the last show of the year. You're in for a treat. I was originally going to air a repeat of a previous show from the year, but I decided to do something special. And I'm going to share with you a motivational sales educational thing I've shared with my agents and clients and various folks for, well over 20 years. This is something that actually has impacted my life in a positive way, probably almost from a career, life, financial, personal, spiritual way, probably more than anything I've ever experienced in my life. So it's personal. It's made a difference. I've shared this. This was sort of an annual thing I've always done with my my staff. They've always, those who have been with me for well over a decade, always ask, "Hey, are you going to talk about your wheel?" It's called the Wheel of Life. You're going to talk about that again this year? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I mean, there was a few years I thought about not, because I had staff where they've been with me for a long time, and they're no, please share it again, because it's so powerful and impactful. So, like I said, we're not going to listen to a rerun. We're going to go into something that has made a difference in my life. And if you have somebody in your life that you think this could benefit, please share this with them. You can go to yourpersonalbank.com. You can forward it to them or whatever. But again, it's called the Wheel of Life. And basically, I've seen this in a number of different places. But like I said, what it is if you think, I know this is radio, but if you think a minute, and if you got a piece of paper, I really strongly encourage you to jot this down or in front of your computer or something, or you can even search Wheel of Life. You can look it up. And basically what it does, and there's different wheels, but the reality is your life is divided into about 4 major areas, okay? And those 4 areas are, financial, career, profession, that type of thing, personal, family, relationships, that type of stuff, health, your overall health, right? And spiritual, your spiritual life. And those are really the 4 major areas of any one of us as human beings. I mean, that's just how we're made, right? And the thing to understand about this is that makes it so impactful, and goal setting, and think about next year. I've said, if you've listened to the show, you've heard me talk about this is the time of year I like to kind of reflect, think about things, set goals for next year. What do I want to accomplish? We're human beings, we naturally want to accomplish things, especially as guys, male, even more so, but we all do, okay? And what you got to do is think about, and you got to be very honest with yourself. This no one's going to see this. This isn't about what other people think or what you think other people are going to think. This is about you and you alone. And you want to take each of those 4 areas. Again, it's financial, your financial area of life. Again, this applies whether you're still working, retired, you're young, old, doesn't matter, and everything in between, okay? So your financial life, your how should I say, your personal your relationships, right? Your health, and your spiritual, personal development type of stuff, okay? So you draw a circle, okay? So if you got a pen, I encourage you to do this. Draw a circle. And then you want to divide this. You can put a line through, whatever, like put a plus or an X, whatever it is. Divide it into 4 sections and write that in each of the 4 sections. Like I said, financial, personal, relationships, right? Health, spiritual, personal development. That's your 4 areas. And then what you want to do, here's the key to being honest with yourself, is look at it right now, today. If you were going to put each of these 4 areas onto a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate yourself from 1 to 10 in terms of what you think you could be, where you want to be, what would be ideal, to 1 to 10? Where are you? And you got, like I said, sometimes it's hard to answer right away. Sometimes you got to think about that a bit. But again, it's not about other people or where you think other people think you should be. It's where you think you should be. What level of health, for example. Not everybody's going to be a triathlete, for example. Not everybody, using health as one of the examples. It's a simple one to use. Not everyone is going to be aspire to being a triathlete or whatever. Anyone could be one, but maybe that's not a realistic area that we want to be. What would be a 10 for you? And that would be different for every person. Same thing financial. From an income or a financial aspect, how much you have or how much income you have or various things like that. Not everybody's going to be a billionaire, okay? Not everybody aspires to that. In fact, most don't, okay? There's a balance. What we're trying to get at is there's a balance in life. And interestingly, since this is Money Radio, I'll touch on this. I have some very wealthy clients that most would consider very wealthy. And I have some of them that are, let's just put it this way. They're not happy people. They're not balanced in any way in their lives, and they're very, very unhappy. I have some people who have much, much less, and just, they have enough, but they have much less than most, and they're very happy people. I have the opposite in both cases, too. I have some very wealthy folks that are very happy, and I have some very, not, I don't know if poor is the right word, but they don't have much, who are very unhappy. In other words, if you fall into the trap thinking if you just had more, since this is Money Radio and this is a financial show, if you fall, and again, I've worked with thousands, literally well over 1,000 clients in my career, in the thousands probably, over my 22-plus year career so far. So I think I've got a pretty good handle, pretty good measure. It's unscientific, understood, but what the typical American, the range from high, relatively high to relatively low and everything in between, where people are really at. Because one of the things I always talk to folks about is when you show me your tax returns and your income statements and I ask you a lot of questions about you, it gets really hard to mislead or lie to me. Because I'm going to get to my goal is with folks is really get to the nitty gritty and get to the bottom line. And I know that can be a little scary and intimidating, and even, you feel vulnerable, right? There's a little bit of vulnerability there sometimes to share all this with somebody else. But I understand if I can't help somebody get to that point, I can't really understand their goals, wants, and needs, and what would really help make them happy and get to where they want to go in their life. And I understand money's not everything. I'm the first to say that, but it is one of the 4 key areas, isn't it? So, again, the key to success of this exercise, this wheel of life, is taking those 4 key areas of your life. Again, personal, relationships, your financial, career, whatever, income, whatever, your health, and your spiritual, personal development areas. And really being honest with yourself in terms of where you really would like to be, ideally, what's a 10, in each of those 4 areas. And then rate yourself. Where are you at? 1 to 10. Now, there's no right or wrong answer here. So don't play games. Answer honestly. Okay? As honest as you can be. And if you can't answer it immediately, that's okay. Think about it a bit. But answer as honest as possible. Be real with yourself. It's just the only person you can be kidding is you if you play games with this, okay? Because one of the things I always share, and I've thankfully never had to do this before, but, the 12-step program, somebody's an alcoholic or whatever, what's the first step? Most of us know what it is, whether we've been through the program or not. And the first step is admitting you are one. Well, the first step to personal development and improving is admitting where you are and where you want to go. So stay tuned. Next segment, we're going to go into this further and show you how this can really make a difference in your life.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
All right, we're back. We're having a special Your Personal Bank Show on the key thing that's helped me in my personal development in my career and with many people I've worked with. It's called the Wheel of Life. If you missed in the first segment, I'm just tell you, look it up. Called Wheel of Life. It's not, it's been around for a long time. Or if you've got a pen, draw a circle, Put an X through it, divide it into 4 sections. So each quarter of the circle, right? And you've got your family, relationships is one section. You've got career, financial, whatever in another section. You've got health in another section. And the fourth one is spiritual or personal development. And the bottom line is that's how we're made up as human beings. We have 4 major areas in our lives that impact us and impact our happiness. And the reality is, if we're doing well in all 4 areas, we're well balanced. We generally are happier in life and where we're at, and life's pretty good. When we're out of balance of those 4 areas, or one of those areas is out of balance, that's when unhappiness and people become unbalanced, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about this. And like I said, the key point I was making is you want to rate yourself, and this has to be you. You have to be honest. It's not what other people think or what you think other people think, but what you and only you. Rate yourself 1 out of 10 on each of these 4 areas. And that is really going to tell the story more than anything else. And let's talk about this a little bit further now in terms of what we can do now that we have a rating. So here's the thing. Let's assume you have a rating. Let's use an example. Let's say you're 2s all the way around. Now, obviously, if you draw a circle around your 2s, right, you mark on each line, you draw a circle, you're going to have a small wheel, aren't you? Now, that wheel's balanced, okay? So you'll get through life without many, potholes, right? Without many bumps or anything. But you're not going to get very far very fast because your wheel's really small. It's just all 2s, right? So you're going to feel like you're spinning your wheels, if you've heard that term. You're not getting anywhere. You have a pretty smooth life. You don't have a lot of drama or issues or crises, but you're not getting anywhere either. So a person who is on the low end all across the board, what should their goal be? What should they try to accomplish? Well, it's unrealistic to move from a 2 to an 8, okay, in a year. Let's say a year from now I want to be 8s. It's unrealistic in most cases, okay? You're not going to be able to expand all of those areas dramatically in most cases. Plus, where you focus your time and your attention, this is some other aspects to keying to understanding, is where, if you focus on an area of improvement, it can move in the right needle in the right direction, but then you neglect other areas. And if you do that too much, you can really also create a new problem, right? So what should the person with 2s all the way around basically do? Focus on being 3s or 4s. You could focus your energy, set some goals, set some action steps. So a goal is just, that's what you want to accomplish, or the action is the key to following the goal, right? Set some action. So let's use a simple one like health, okay? If your health is rather poor and you're a 2, like I said, you're 2s all the way around, what are some things you could do to make it a 3 or a 4? Obviously, eating right, exercising, getting proper rest, things like that. Some of the basics. You don't have to get all extravagant. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. You don't have to hire a trainer, although if you want to and you can, that's all well and good. Or you get an accountability partner to get, those are good things to get. Start working out with a friend or somebody and call and hold each other accountable, right? So you're much more likely to be successful in moving from that 2 to a 3 or a 4 or so on. Let's assume you start losing weight or getting better shape or whatever it is you want to do, right? You can do that same type of stuff with financial, money, career. What do you, from a financial standpoint, what can you do to improve your financial situation? If you're still working and you have a career, is there some type of career advancement you could do? Is there some courses or some new technology you could learn, or a new skill set, or change jobs, or any of what it may be to improve that financial situation or income? If you have a business, what can you do to make your business more profitable, more efficient? Can you increase revenues, reduce expenses? Can you offer a new and better, more efficient product? Or there's so many different things that can be done there. But what can you do? It's really start analyzing what can be done in all those areas, and talking to a mentor or somebody who understands business, or your business in particular, that you respect, that could give you some advice and direction is always tremendously helpful. Obviously, relationships, family, that type of stuff. A lot of the time, I'm a parent, I'm a husband, okay? And I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that. My wife is a postmaster's degree in human development and all that stuff. She's way more versed in that stuff than I am, but I learned 20 years of marriage. You pick up a few things. But you know what I see just from a general standpoint, when it comes to family and relationships and things like that, in many cases, I'm going to say the majority of cases that I've seen, a lot of times it just involves having a little bit more time and priority. In other words, if you make family time, particularly with kids, let's face it, spouses and partners and things like that, it's absolutely true too. You make it a priority and you invest a little bit of time there, more than you have before, you're naturally going to see your relationships improve most of the time. So if we want to be honest with each other, like I said, this exercise in making a difference, if you want next year to be better than this year was, I think that'd be true for a lot of people, including myself, in many ways. But if you want to see improvement in your life going forward, again, you got to be honest with yourself first, but then you have to set a goal, and then you have to follow through with the action steps. And, if it's a partner or something, you set up a date night kind of thing or whatever, and you turn off the cell phone and turn off all the, whatever, distractions, and just focus on that person. A lot of the times it's remarkable the changes you'll see even in a fairly short period of time. Even if you don't, there's some resentment or baggage built up, stick to it. It may not happen overnight, right? But stick to it. You set your goal, you set your action plan, you do it. Especially with a partner or spouse or something, if there's some baggage or resentment there may be some initial skepticism or even hostility because there's anger involved because maybe you didn't spend the time or priority or focus that you should have. And now you are, and then you start questioning your motivation and things like that. That's all natural human nature stuff. Don't let it get you down. Stick to your plan. And then demonstrate over time that your intentions are genuine, that you want to make a difference. You want to become a better person. What are you doing here? You're becoming a better version of yourself, right? You're improving who you are as a person. Nothing here I'm talking about is talking about changing who you are. It's all about changing or improving on what's already there, chipping off some of the stuff that's not so good, and enhancing the good stuff and making it better. And with kids, particularly the younger the kids are, the easier this is. It's folks, as a parent, I think every parent knows this intuitively. It's just about it's about attention. It's about time. It's just letting them know you do care. Okay, and I could say that about just about any relationship. Let's be real. But take a little time to let your kids or the kids know that you care. Okay, whether it's your parent or grandparent or anything else like that, that's all they really want in most cases. So take the time, make it a priority to pay attention to them, spend some time with them. And I know with COVID, things have gotten harder, but there's still a lot of things you can do to let them know you care. I mean, even if it's a Zoom call, do you make the point of talking to them, spending time with them, and taking interest in what interests them? Listening, powerful listening, active listening, which I'm going to talk about here in the next segment, is one of the most powerful tools you can use for any personal relationship, but also for any career type thing too. Let's face it, it applies across the board. So stay tuned. We're going to keep talking about the wheel of life and these other things, these other parts of our life, and how we can improve them and make ourselves a better version of ourselves. So stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about something, we're doing something a little special. I call it the Wheel of Life. This is, again, if you hadn't heard the previous segments, this is a personal development tool that impacted and changed my life. And it's called the Wheel of Life. You can look it up online. It's pretty common in that your life is divided, all of our lives are divided into four major areas. That's our personal relationship life, our career, financial, our health, and our spiritual personal development. And we divide those into four areas. We draw a circle, divide it into four areas, and then we rate ourselves, being honest. Rate yourself in each of those four areas on a 1 to 10 scale. Then you draw a circle on there, and what you do is you create a wheel. And as I talked about earlier, if you have all twos, You have a well-balanced life. You have minimal crises, but you've got a really small wheel, and you're not going through. You're not getting very far very fast. Spinning your wheels. You feel like you're spinning wheels. That's sort of a phrase that you commonly hear. Now, before I go further on this, I just want to be the first to say I'm not an expert in doing this. I'm not tens all the way around. Okay. There's been different times in my life that I've had some high numbers and some low numbers. Events have occurred sometimes that have caused what was formerly a high number to go to a low number. And that's part of living life. Okay. Stuff happens, folks. And so this is an ongoing thing. This is something I look at annually. And I've shared, like I said, with my staff every year for over 20 years. They love it. I get tremendous positive feedback from this. But applying these into your life can make a tremendous difference on becoming a better version of yourself. And I just encourage anyone to do that. If you're not happy where you're at, if you're not tens all the way around, and I would venture to say most of us are not, especially after 2020, after all this we've dealt with, there's probably some areas we need to work on, right? And whether it's through our fault or outside forces causing things to happen, there's probably some areas we need to work on. And one last thought I was sharing earlier, if you missed the previous stuff where I was talking about, go to yourpersonalbank.com, check out this show. It'll be called The Wheel of Life. You could, if you have somebody you think would benefit or would really enjoy it, please pass this on. This is just super valuable information for everyone. But anyway, and we all can learn from it. The thing I was going to say is the last thing I was sharing on the personal development relationship side, I was talking about a lot of things that, like I said, to improve that area. Because, again, the key is rate yourself, and then look at things. What can you do to improve? Can you move from a 2 to a 3 or from a 5 to a 7 or whatever? Yes. Can you move from a 2 to a 10? Probably not. So the key is, let's say in a year's time, let's focus on improving what can we do. And from the personal relationship side, been married over 20 years coming on now. I've done a lot of things right, done a lot of things wrong. And learn from them, and got 2 wonderful daughters, both teenagers now. And again, same thing. Done a lot of good stuff, made some mistakes along the way, of course. We're human. The thing is with the relationships, though, if you care, you let them know you care, you spend some time, you invest some time, you make it a priority. It's amazing how personal relationships improve. And my wife and I have shared this one little tact thought, and this is something I think has been more beneficial for our marriage than any other. And we've shared this with many couples and people over the years, and they've expressed similar positive results. We call it PEVR. And guys, I'm talking to you particularly as a guy myself, okay? It's easy for us. We're watching the game. We're on the computer. We're whatever. We're focused. We're good. We can be good at really focusing. I work from home a lot and have for years. So it becomes, in this past year, a lot of people are dealing with this. You're in your office, you're working, you're on your computer, you're working, and the wife comes in and she wants to talk to you. and it's an interruption, right? Well, if you make her feel like she's an interruption on a regular basis, that's not going to be positive for the relationship. Is that fair? So PEVR is something, now if there's something, if I'm in the middle of a client call or something, she understands, hey, I'm on the phone with somebody or, I'm on a go-to-meeting or whatever. I'm dealing with a client. I've got to, that's something I have to do at that point. I say, I'm on a client call and she'll back, she'll come back later, right? But if I'm not on doing, something that's immediately urgent that I have to deal with right then and there, like I'm talking to somebody else, is PEVR. It's called pause. I just drew a blank. PEVR. Yeah. It's, you listen is what you do. You validate and then resume. So, and I forget, oh my gosh, I've been teaching this for years and I forgot what the E stands for. It's empathize. That's what it is. Pause, empathize, validate, resume. It's actually quite simple to do. So if I'm on the computer, I'll just pause it. If I'm in the middle of doing something, or I'll turn the screen off, or put the laptop, fold the laptop down, and I'll say, what can I do? What is it, sweetie? Whatever. And usually she has something she wants to talk to me about. We do it. We talk about it. It's usually fairly simple, and I'll listen. Now I'm going to talk about this further. Listening's key. Then I'll validate, and validate is part of that listening process. And in other words, repeating what she said to you giving her out in an outline version. So what you're saying to me is this, or what do you mean by that? Or, just ask a question or two to better understand. That's validating. And then there's some kind of then you resume. And she usually feels good. The kids, same thing. They feel good. They're validated. They feel like you're important. You're more important than the work you're working on at that point. Now, if they're coming in constantly interrupting all the time, there's a balance there. I get it. And we've had those discussions. Hey, you guys can come in and talk to me about something. That's fine. That's great. But if you're coming in every 20 minutes, I can't get my work done. That's not fair either. Okay, so there's understanding on both sides. There's a balance. But when they do come in, then they understand it's something important that they want to talk to me about at that point. And it's probably something they don't want to or can't really wait. So then we do the PEVR. I pause, I listen to them, validate, and then resume. And it usually takes a few minutes, frankly, if that. And it's powerful, powerful, powerful. Let's talk about listening. Listening is one of those skills that I believe, and this is something I've been teaching for decades, that I think is almost a lost art. And I mean this in terms of not only from a personal standpoint, but a career, business, financial standpoint. It's so powerful. We see it over and over again. Studies have shown, like in the financial industry, use a good example. I saw one not too long ago, over 80%. The number one complaint that folks have about their financial advisor, over 80%, consistently, is they don't feel like their advisor is really listening. We could apply that to just about any field we want, I think. I think in general, most people, when they're the buyer, they're the client, they're the customer, whatever, they just don't really, in this today's society, this economy, they don't feel listened to. Politically, I think we could say that too in many cases. A lot of what's going on is because a lot of people just don't feel like they're being listened to. The leaders are not listening. The business they're trying to buy from, their spouse or partners, whatever, nobody's listening. Everybody's talking. Social media is famous for that, isn't it? I see an awful lot of talking, loudly even sometimes, yelling, I would even put it. I see very little listening. And that's off-putting. The other thing about it is if you start learning how to listen and actively listen, folks, it immediately separates you from everyone else. It's one of the most powerful tools you can apply to improve your relationships, your career, your personal development, okay? And frankly, your spiritual life, all of those things, okay? So in the next segment, I'm going to talk more about active listening and some very, very practical, specific things you can do that involves active listening. They're very simple to apply. And folks, you're going to be amazed by the results. So stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
All right, welcome back. We're rounding third. Today we're talking about the Wheel of Life. We're doing something very special, very different. This is a personal development thing that changed my life. Over 20 years ago, I've been applying it, and it's improved my life, no question. My life's not perfect, and there's been times I've been better and worse at other areas, but it's helped me analyze and determine where I'm at and what I can do specifically and practically to improve in these areas. And again, and if you missed the previous stuff, I'm just going to say go to yourpersonalbank.com, listen to the previous parts of the segment. I have shared this for over 20 years with my staff. It's something they request and really appreciate. It's how we start our year each year. It's called The Wheel of Life, and it's about personal development, increasing and improving and making our lives better. No matter where we're at, we can make it better, and if we have a desire to do so. First step, of course, is analyzing where we're at in the four major areas of life, that being, of course, personal, relationships, financial, career, health, and spiritual personal development. Those are the four big areas. And rating yourself, where are you at, and what you can do to improve in each of these areas. Can you move from a 2 to a 10 in a year? Probably not. Can you focus on improving from a 2 to a 3 or 4? Probably. Can you do it in all areas simultaneously? That's tough to do. Can you focus on certain areas to improve while maintaining the others? That's usually easier to do. But one of the biggest, powerful tools, most impactful tools that you can make a difference, particularly in the personal relationship side, career side, spiritual, personal development side. Okay, this has anything to do with when you're dealing with other people in any respect. It's called active listening. And this will make a bigger difference quicker and faster than probably anything else you'll ever do. And this is what I've experienced personally. In our society, most people don't listen. That's just the fact. They're either focused or wrapped up in what they're doing, or, social media is notorious for not listening. Lots of talking, lots of people are talking, very few are listening, right? What is active listening? It's actually the easiest and simplest way to approach this is think of a drive-through. It's called drive-through communication. When you go into a drive-through in a drive-through restaurant, and let's assume you go in, what happens? You look at the menu and they ask, "What may I help you?" And you tell them what your order. And let's say your order is a burgers, fries, and a shake. All right. What's the first thing the person on the other side of the respond? Okay, sir, was that a burger, fry, and shake? In other words, they validate or confirm what you just said. They repeat what you just told them. And then you confirm or say no, yes or no, right? You just practiced active listening. It's a very simple, basic technique, and you can expand upon it, but this is the beginnings of it, drive-through listening. In other words, you can apply this in any interaction you have in your life, professional, personal life you have. If somebody says to you, "Hey, I want this, XYZ," what's the first thing you should respond with? Well, correct me if I'm wrong. This is something I love to say with a client. You told me you want XYZ. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you told me you wanted XYZ. I mean, it makes it abundantly clear, immediately obvious that you were listening to them, which is the number one thing people want. They want to be heard. They want to know that you're listening. And if you're any kind of advisor, any type, I don't care what it is, financial, legal, tax, whatever, it's really important for those types of advisors like myself to listen to our folks. And unfortunately, our industry is not that great at it, just like our society is really bad at listening, right? And I think it's more of a societal thing. Again, if you focus on listening rather than talking, one of the things I've always heard, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? There's a reason. If we focus on listening rather than talking, instead of me sharing with people all the time how smart you are and everything you know, instead listen to what they have to say and what they want and need, you're better able to help them. And naturally, if you focus on, "Hey, you told me you want XYZ, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you told me you want," and they'll say yes or tweak it, whatever. Okay, great. Once we have it clear that I've been listening to what they want, and then start focusing on those solutions. Well, I'll tell you what, if I could do this and fix that and do this and accomplish X, Y, and Z, what you told me you wanted, would that interest you? Well, that's going to become a client in most cases because I'm listening to what they want first. Secondly, then offering a solution to what the problem was or whatever it is they wanted. Folks, it's not that complicated. We can apply this in our lives, in every aspect of our life. So one of the things I'm going to encourage everybody to do who's listening to this or passes this on to somebody else, again, go to yourpersonalbank.com. You can download it. You can listen to it, whatever, pass it on to others, is listen. Really, really listen to somebody. Stop talking. Stop worrying about what you have to say and listen to what they have to say and start asking open-ended, proactive questions. Last thing I'll share with us on communication is a powerful communication technique is this. The person who, this is something most people don't know, the person who's asking questions controls the conversation. In fact, you can play with this and have fun with it with your partner, spouse, or whoever. Just by going to a conversation, just start asking them questions and then casually ask them another question and then ask a different question and just play with it and see how you can steer a conversation in most any direction you want to. See, most people think they're in power when they're talking. You're not. You're only you're only effective if they're actually listening, and you really have no way of knowing if the person you're talking to is really listening to you or not, do you? Whether it's one-on-one or in a group situation. The person with power is the one asking questions. So what I would encourage and challenge everyone to do who's listening and wants to make a difference, wants to move their wheel of life, wants to improve things, is enter an active listening, use the drive-through listening technique if you need to at the beginning to learn, and then start asking open-ended questions to start steering conversations. And again, play with it for a while initially, and you'll see how powerful of a tool this is. And you can then control the direction of a conversation. It's tremendously, tremendously powerful. And because so few people use it, okay, and even if everyone who is listening right now started doing it, we would be in the tiny minority. So I'm not worried about this taking over society. I wish it would, but unrealistic, I think. It'll still be a powerful tool. The last thought I want you to leave on this with this wheel of life and making the changes is we're trying to get to a more balanced life. The bottom line is we want our wheel to be decent size. We're probably not going to get to all 10s, but some, if you can get to 6, 7, 8s or so, all the way around, relatively speaking, you're going to have a pretty good life, a pretty balanced life. You're going to have a few crises, and you're going to get somewhere through. You're going to progress through life and do well. I find people that are in 10s in one area usually are 2s or 3s in another. There's many famous examples where you have somebody who has all the wealth in the world and their health stinks. Well, what do they wish they had? They wish they had good health. They can't buy the health. You see what I'm trying to say? Or, how many people have said, on your deathbed, you don't think about, I wish I spent more hours in the office. In other words, they did well in their career and finances, but their personal relationships suffered. You see what I'm saying? If you've got an area that's suffering, and you're spending too much time in an area that because you tend to do that because you're really good at that. That's what happens. Somebody's really good at one area, they focus on that. Pull back off of it a little bit. You're really good already. You don't need to keep pushing that so hard. Focus on the other. You oversteer the ship. The last thought I want on this is in making these changes is if you think of a large ship crossing the ocean, and they're getting across the ocean and realize, wait a minute, we're off course. What do? They turn the wheel, right, to change course. Now, on the ship, they crank the wheel. What happens? Well, the ship starts to move, but it's really slow, right? Like if you think of a big cruise ship or a tanker or something. It's really slow at first. So you're doing all these changes, but very little's happening. It takes time to move that thing, okay? Don't worry about it. Stay with it. By the way, the closer you are to the ultimate goal, the harder you have to turn it, right? Sometimes you have to be out of balance temporarily, intentionally, to ultimately get into balance. These are all things I love sharing with people. I wish you all a happy new year. I'm excited about 2021. I think it's going to be an awesome year. I'm going to encourage everybody to stay tuned to the Your Personal Bank show. We're going to be sharing a lot of exciting news and new things about your personal bank that enhances things and ultimately will enhance your financial future. So looking forward to it. Stay tuned.
Listen Tuesday at noon and Thursdays at 1 for more information on Your Personal Bank. Contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.